Hello, Guardians. Today is September 29th, 2023. My name's Danfinity, and welcome to Destiny Digest. Hey, if you're listening to this right now, thank you so much for continuing to support the show while I am on my trip gallivanting across the EU and the UK. I will be back soon. There will be a new episode next week. Thank you so much for your patience and for hanging out with me here on the show. That said, today's episode is a reprise. I am reprising the conversation that we had with Saltagreppo. In the 9 months since he was on the show last, he has won yet another raid race. So I thought it would be kind of neat to go back and listen to some of those thoughts again. I remember being very nervous about this interview. Not so much that I didn't think that I could talk to him, that we'd communicate well, or we'd even have a good conversation. But it was one of the larger guests that I had on at this time for Destiny Digest. Back in PD, I felt like it was very easy for me to reach out to people, and because Planet Destiny had that community cachet at the time to bring guests on. Destiny Digest being this new thing, I had no idea who would be receptive of being a guest, and I'm eternally grateful for Salt being on the show. Without any further ado, here's the interview. When was when was the first time in Destiny 2 that you were like, I want to be competitive at this? I want to seek out titles. What?
So I always wanted to be competitive. Obviously, I was aware
right, in PvP so far.
No. I meant even in PvE. I meant in PvE, like in day ones. I remember we cleared the Karata week 1, Monday. We also cleared King's Fall week 1, Monday after 6 days. Then we actually got Varat day 1. I was on console with just some random Italian friends that didn't have a set team or anything. But I always tried to do my best to clear the raid day 1. It didn't matter as much back then, though there was no emblem. Anyways, I always tried to do my best, but well knowing that there would have been no chance for me to actually get a word first, because I wasn't that good at the game. I didn't have that good of a team, so it's you can say that things changed when Bungie added cross save, because after before Shadowkeep I just swapped to PC, and it was now I'm on PC. Now I can actually compete, because I don't think it's possible to compete on console. It's just you're not gonna win. There's no way. So when I swapped to PC, then I was okay, I need to find a clan that has good requirements so I can start competing seriously. My goal honestly wasn't to win. I just wanted to clear day ones. I was very disappointed to not be able to clear Crown on day 1 with my Italian friends, because most of them were just kind of casuals, and Crown was pretty hard for the time. Not many people have that. Actually, only one team cleared it between PlayStation and Xbox, so it wasn't easy. But so after that, I wanted to join a clan where I would be able to comfortably clear day ones, and I just found Elysium in the big LFG Discord. They were posting in the clan recruitment section. They were the clan with the stricter requirements, and so that's why I applied.
Okay. Cool. So you're okay, they got stricter requirements. I want to do this content anyway. What were you playing? Were you messing with anything beforehand to try to improve? How do you view improving as somebody who wants to be competitive or is trying to be better at the game? How do you improve?
In PvE, doing challenges, let's say, helps. For example, duo, trio, solo raids, solo dungeons. Solo dungeons is a bit more simple, but still. They both require you to be mechanically skilled and to be creative or a fast learner, let's say. Obviously, the more time you put into them, the more you master them, but still, they do each one of them teaches you something. Each challenge, you have to use different skills to complete them. They're just very fun usually. I remember in year 1 Destiny 2 I did the duo Calus with one of my console friends. So I was already starting to approach those kind of challenges. Not that it was anything crazy, but still. Then on console, I did solo Argos back then. And on console, it was actually kind of hard to track those orbs on controller. And then, as soon as I swapped to PC, I was like, all right, now I'm on PC, I'm going to do all of them. You can also get those like tags on the raid report, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
They tell you. Yeah. So I started doing like duo flawless crown. That was one of the hard ones, like the full raid.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was duo final boss on like Scourge of the Past, full trio flawless last wish. Spire wasn't possible with less than 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Then solo Argos, I did it again. I did it on on Titan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then those kind of things. Like I just started doing those challenges, and then of course the solo flawless dungeons on even other classes. Because I remember I did solo flawless dungeons even back then, like on console, but on PC it was much easier, and I tried to like do them again in other classes or faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started to like challenging myself and doing those things that I found fun.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. There were, I've got a series of questions over here coming from Twitter and Hive and Spotify. I have a question from Pigeon. As somebody who wants to learn deeper systems and mechanics in Destiny, what is the most surprising function, feature, or mechanic you've come across in your challenge style content?
Is this asking for like a crazy tech that gets used in a challenge?
Yeah. Like what is the mechanic or tech that like has been the most surprising to you as a challenge, as somebody who seeks challenge?
I don't know about surprising, because I'm not surprised when like glitches get found, Mm-hmm. Anyways, I don't know. I feel like some of those finisher techs that now got fixed were kind of crazy for like Solo 8 and also Descent, where you will do a finisher and after 5 seconds you will get joining Galles and teleport back at the start of the encounter. Like things like that were kind of crazy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know though. I would have to think about this, but I mean, most of those challenges are kind of straightforward. Like you just have to be fast and do the encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Like not all of those challenges actually require some crazy tech. For example, Crown of Sorrow is a raid that you can do with 2 players, but you're not using any glitch. You're just being fast and rotating around the map quickly.
Mm-hmm.
For example, so not all of them require anything crazy. Let's say,
Gotcha.
Usually it's just like trying to do the job of multiple people at once, which helps you improve at multitasking and like paying attention to different things, which learning how to operate under pressure and do many things definitely will help you day one, where sometimes maybe someone dies and you have to do the job of 2 people, or like you have to like quickly catch up and understand what to do, those kind of things. Many of the challenges I did that didn't feel new to me, so to say, because even if I didn't attempt them on console, I did play with many random players or LFGs, maybe on like Destiny 2, and not anyways players that were maybe new to the game, didn't know what to do, and I would still try to clear the raid for them. So I would, let's say, do maybe the raid with 3 people, even if we were actually 6 in the first team. So I was, you know what I mean, like you aren't always gonna like teach them. Sometimes people just want the loot that was gonna help them, and so I was kind of familiar with some of those techs because I used them even while not being a doer.
Even when you're in a room full of people, you had the understanding, you had the knowledge of like, oh, okay, like I need to not only clear out the night, but I also need to read on the plate at the same time. Like you need to be able to kind of like stick and move a little bit. When it comes to Worlds First, so you've won 3 of these already. Do you feel like on the next one, especially now with how like we've seen social media react to some of your feedback, do you feel like maybe you have like a target on your back for the next one?
I mean, I feel like some people are gonna be happy if I win, some people are gonna be mad, and that will happen with or without social media presence. When you win 3 in a row, some people have enough, and some people cheer for you. So I feel like that's So somebody's
like on their hero's journey to take you down.
next day one, if I'm gonna win, they're gonna be like, oh, you won because you made bunch nerf Divinity. If I lose, they're gonna be like, oh, you were only good with Divinity. So there is like no winning, you know, like it's someone is gonna be mad, and that's just something you have to like be okay with.
Yeah. So when you tweeted that out that morning, what did you expect to get from the community feedback wise? Did you just expect it to just do nothing, or?
I mean, I'm not gonna like I wasn't planning on arguing with people whether Div needs a nerf or not, because I know it does. It has like a 90% win pick rate in raids, so it's like that wasn't. I was mainly asking if people had like better ideas for a possible nerf without actually killing the gun. Yeah. That was like I just wanted ideas. Actually, like the idea I gave on my tweet isn't even the idea I have now, because some people brought up better ideas. For example, that my point, like my goal was just to spark conversation. I didn't really, yeah.
You were out there being like, they have to do this now, and it's all because I want to win the next title. It wasn't that. Like, that's very clear that your intent wasn't to.
I also firmly believe that a nerf to Divinity goes against my team, because we won 3 times using Divinity. So it's like we're clearly good at that. If we change the playing field, we may be worse at it. Like, I don't know. It's, you know. So it's like I don't think it's smart for me if I only wanted to win to like ask for those things.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, like, why would they change? How we play?
Do you feel like the changes that they're making for restoration also play into things that are going to hinder your team?
I mean, I don't think the changes to restoration will do much in a day one scenario, because you're permanently sitting in a Well of Radiance. So that didn't get nerfed. So yeah, the changes to restoration are good. They're good changes because it healed way too much, but it probably still heals too much. So. It's still gonna be too strong, and it's not even restoration itself being strong. It's we now have a permanent 40% damage resist, which automatically makes, like, for example, a 50% damage resist is the same thing as saying I have double the HPs and double the healing. So any resist makes healing stronger, and we have so much resist that any amount of healing is just unbelievably strong. I don't think much will change next day one with the restoration changes. I still think they're good changes. But we had other issues that make survivability too easy compared to like what we had before, let's say. We had like 4 people on stasis, so it's not like we were using restoration. You just, when you sit on a Well of Radiance, you cannot die. Yeah. And that's probably my complaint number 1 about the game. When people like ask me, oh, why did you nerf Divinity? You could have asked for other things. I'm like, yeah, I should have probably asked for Well to be nerfed.
I mean, that's something that when we had the conversation with like the PvE Sherpas a couple weeks back, like I did a huge panel with a bunch of folks from like the Sherpa and PvE helps community, and that was they were like, yeah, Well's going to have to get hit before like really the game feels kind of more challenging to them.
Yeah, it's like I don't even like personally. I'm even okay if Well heals you enough so that you can't die in it in a normal mod raid. Like I'm okay with it. I don't really care. I just wish that during a day one raid or a master raid, you actually had to use banner shield or cover or like literally anything and just not sit on a Well of Radiance, because it just kills any other like defensive ability. Why would you use it? You know, like.
Are you arguing more for like team synergy over necessarily like just kind of these like a panic button?
Team synergy is good, but even just using cover and like placing your just moving your character while you play, like let's say, because right now it's not really required, you know. Like, also there is one issue with that's new.
Okay,
is that like they changed how supers work, right, with super tiers. So for PvP, I don't like different supers having different tiers, because I don't like it being Well and Bubble Simulator whenever it's zone control or like in trials, right? So for PvP, I don't like that aspect of different tiers, but I can understand it changing to incentivize less camping waiting for your super. So I can understand that. While on PvE, it's the opposite issue. I don't think it really matters if different supers have different tiers, because you're gonna get your super anyways every phase. The issue is that with this change in PvE where damage equals super amount that you regen, like you can actually get your well in 15 seconds with a decent build. You have it permanently. That's causing a lot of issues. Like back then, like I remember teams where I think Redeem actually went into Garden of Salvation with 6 Warlocks with well because it was so good. May as well have like 6 wells.
Yeah.
And it's a valid strat. It still is. But now it's no more a valid strat. Not because well is strong, just because with 2 Warlocks you can have infinite ones.
Yeah.
So it's even more of an issue because supers don't feel like supers anymore. They almost feel like grenades with a decent build, you know?
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. I've been solo flawlessing a couple of the dungeons that I haven't in the past this season. And I'm using Lorelei, even at like a +2 restoration. All of those things, I wasn't worried about much outside of gravity or water. You know what I mean? like
in duality, you can't die aside of like getting booped off a map or a bell or like a backpack. And I don't know, I would much rather ads being like threatening and not have to die to cheese than this because I don't know.
When you are when you're prepping for a day 1 raid, what are some things that like a lot of people are asking questions from Twitter, like Red Guardian asks, how do you maintain such consistency across Worlds First when you're prepping for it? How do you determine weapons, subclasses that you'll take in for different runs to make them efficient and quick?
I mean, we play the game quite a bit, so we just, let's say, know the meta. I know that's not really an answer, but we just know, like, if we see an update and we're like, oh, out rifles get 5% more damage, I'm like, okay, that won't change anything. For example, like, you know? So we already know what the meta is. It's not really shifting that much, like, nowadays. It's a couple years that the meta is just use Divinity and plays a Well of Radiance, shoot the boss. That's pretty much it. Now, sometimes it's easy rockets, sometimes it's linears, but, you know, it's not like we have anything crazy going on right now. So we just kind of know what's meta. We obviously check every new weapon that comes out to see if it could shake it. But yeah, like as of right now, any weapon that stasis is just better because you have Font of Might on demand and 25% more damage than everything else. It just, any weapon that's not stasis just can't be good. We're in a weird meta, so unless they make another linear with like better perks, which I don't think they can because it's a triple tap firing line. It's like, yeah, we know that gun is gonna be meta unless they nerf linears, and we don't have to put much thought into it, for example. Then we know we want to bring 2 or 3 Well of Radiances in any day 1, and then for the other classes, whatever damage super is good, they're like good at clear, doesn't really matter. Yeah.
How many hours a week would you say that you and your teams put into playing Destiny leading up to day 1 races?
You mean together?
Yeah, well, either together or like individually. Like,
I mean, we don't play together. We think we did 1 raid before we played Vogue, then we did another raid before we did the. Like we played together, maybe. Yeah, we did like 1 master raid just to warm up and like test things, but not anything particular. Like we do play together, maybe as groups of 2, groups of 3 doing challenges, but we never play as a team of 6.
Okay.
Because there wouldn't be really any point in doing a raid with 6 of us. It's, you know, it's like, what do you really learn? It's like, so yeah, we also don't do raid speedruns or anything like that. So
it's kind of like putting ankle weights on. So you kind of put ankle weights on, do 2 and 3 man challenges in order to gear up for those day 1s. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely like doing it less now. Not everyone is as invested into the game. We just make sure that we all are on the same page. Like we all have raids regret with like God roll. We just need to make sure everyone has the loadout required, like good artifice armor, those kind of things, good exotics, good stats. Then if they want to play Final Fantasy for 2 months, I mean, they can do it. You know, like it's not like there is much to do during seasons, anyways. If you don't want to.
Yeah, like basically, I can't imagine, especially kind of like during this season. Basically, you're just gearing up using pinnacles first and foremost to catch up for the most part. And then the back half, really there's not a lot to do when it comes to like core playlists to keep you engaged outside of your own personal challenge. Like, do you find yourself playing a lot of Destiny right now, or?
I mean, I play it because I obviously stream.
Yeah.
I get more views when I stream Destiny, so I have to play some Destiny. And I also, I enjoy it. I don't do it against my will, let's say. Like, I enjoy doing many of those, like, GM speedruns, some challenges. Like, it's kind of fun. But I don't play to, like, gear myself up, just to say. I just do fun things, do challenges, yeah. So I personally play quite a bit, mainly due to the stream.
Gotcha. So are you looking at Lightfall, looking at the raid that's coming with it? What do you think, outside of the things that you've mentioned, looking into season 20, which seems kind of nuts to ask, what do you feel like will be some of the strats that you would use going forward?
Okay, so first of all, we need to test Strand, which, to be fair, looking at it doesn't look like something I would use, because why would you need movement in a day one? I want to ask, like, there are other ways to move. You can even use a sword with eager edge, so it's like, as of right now, it doesn't look too exciting in that regard, but then we don't know. We just have to see the numbers. Warlock has a bar super. That super may be crazy, maybe better than a Thunder Crash, or I don't know. I wish they're gonna do some cool aspects that, I don't know, maybe you use the grappling hook, and after that, your next shot in the air does triple damage. Something crazy like that, Like with, like, Izanagi, So I really hope they do something to spice it up. As of right now, it doesn't look too promising. But we will have to see Strand. Especially the Titan Super that's like, it spins like Burning Mole, and that just never works in this game. It doesn't connect very well. You usually teleport behind the enemy, so... But we will see. It's probably going to be a lot of fun. It doesn't look promising in a competitive scenario, let's say.
Okay. Gotcha.
While regarding other strategies, if they don't change how Supreme Wellmaker works, you will have to use Riddler Guard with Font of Might, because it's just overpower. And then you will have to use Divinity, as long as the boss isn't super easy to crit, because doesn't matter how much debuff Divinity gives. Now it's 15. It could be even 0. But as long as they allow you to stack a Tether on top of it, why wouldn't you just use Divinity and use Tether? It's like, if the boss is hard to create, if it's, for example, if we had to go into Vow Day 1 now, you would still use Divinity on Rulk. You wouldn't just use Tether because it's an Iger debuff. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Because it puts the cage
there is
around.
there is just no trade-off for using the gun. So, yeah.
Oh, man. I just
Divinity
thought
is going to be used.
I just thought of something stupid, like adding like a life leeching ability while using Divinity. So the longer you give the crit bubble, like you're giving life.
You can just sit in a well.
Right. I mean, that's okay, Salt. All right.
If you're losing health, you're not gonna die that way.
Yeah. That's true. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you're asking for a trade-off, why not a little bit of that health bar there, sir?
It's really not about trade-off. Like, if the gun allows you to do full damage while shooting the cage, it will be used in any boss that's not easy to crit. And not necessarily a boss that's hard to crit, but even the first time you enter an encounter, you just don't know what to expect. You don't know how long the damage phase is. So it's better to have a constant 15% than to toss a tether, and then the damage phase is too long, and you just run out of debuff, for example.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just so easy and consistent that, like, first approach, you will use it. Then I can definitely see Divinity being used less later on when we know the raid. If we know that it's not a boss where it's good, then I can see that. For example, a boss like War Priest, if it had a shorter damage phase, it's not that hard to hit, and if it was shorter, then I could see some people just using a tether. But we will just have to see the raid. But our first approach, as of right now, will just be going with Divinity, and let's see what happens. It's just safe for the first couple of attempts, let's say.
Well, and that's like with Golgoroth, it's better to use Tractor Cannon against him now.
Because Golgoroth isn't hard to crit, and and you can Tractor.
Yeah. Revenant 5333 asks, do you prefer day one raids to be weighted for mechanics to overcome, or a series of DPS checks?
I think DPS checks are kind of fun, but the most fun thing for me would be having it to be hard to survive, which probably won't happen. But I remember Crown Day 1, Garden Day 1, they were just so good. Like, I was dying to the enemies. I had to respect them. I had to kill them quickly, or I would be killed. I want to get some of that feeling back, let's say. So that would be one of the things I'm looking forward the most. Again, though, I don't think it will happen, just a dream, let's say. Well, regarding mechanics, I mean, it just needs to be a mix. Like, there needs to be everything in a day one. Mechanics need to be not necessarily hard to find. I think it's better when they're hard to execute. Because finding it is cool, but like, it's in Destiny's, like, if you want to compete, you have to stream snipe, let's be real. Like, everyone shares info. So whoever, like, finding a mechanic first will give you like an advantage of like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then everyone will catch up. So like, I mainly just want it to be hard to execute more than hard to find, because something hard to find can even come down way more to luck than anything else, right? While I know that if something is hard to execute, I know my team will likely get a good placement because we're gonna be good at that. Like, you know.
Yeah. So do you have like somebody like a man in a chair scouting other streams, or are you
we
dividing
did
your
for the last 2 raids?
Okay.
Like, we didn't do for VOG. For VOG, we leaded the whole time. Actually, we had I think 40 or 50 minutes advantage over every other team, or a minute and 30. It was like a crazy advantage. Then we got stuck on gatekeepers. We figured it out after like an hour and 30 minutes, but then everyone instantly catched up because they got told how to do it. And we only won by 10 minutes, I think. So after that, we were like, okay, let's get like a 7th person in the call so that doesn't happen. You know,
that way it's not like
yeah,
your attention's not split.
I mean,
somebody like that's somebody else's like domain to be like, oh hey, this is like they're already on this and this seems to be how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on VOW we were behind. On VOW we were behind quite a bit. We didn't really understand first encounter. We were missing the fact that we wanted to shoot 3 symbols and not all 6 of them. So it's like, then we saw that from like other chat giving info and like other streams. And then we also had 2 hours of error codes, but that wasn't that wasn't the only thing, you know. Like, we were also not understanding first encounter. So having someone in the call that's like, oh look, shoot 3 symbols, not 6, like you're getting that wrong. That helps. Now I know some people don't like it, but if you want to be competitive, you have to. Like, that's just how it is. Hard to compete against someone stream sniping you when you don't get any info from the outside, you know, like it's
Aki and Fam ask, what advice would you give to somebody that is more casual player looking to get more serious about in-game content? What activities should they be prioritizing, and what weapons should they be chasing?
Activities, solo dungeons. I'm not gonna say flawless because I don't think there is any value in doing something flawless over doing it. It's just more annoying. You have to replay the boring part over and over. So solo dungeons are good if you're comfortable doing solo dungeons. I mean, that means you're pretty good at the game. And then raid challenges, like as I said, trio duo raids are very good too. You have to find people for it, I know. It's not easy, but yeah, it's best to find people that haven't done it, because if you find someone that has done it, they can kind of, let's say, carry you, and then you don't learn much. So it's better to like find someone willing to learn with you, which isn't easy, but if you do, it's good, because then those are also people that you can maybe build a raid team with for day one, possibly. Weapon-wise, I would tell you to grab both Ted and Regret, but they're both no more in the game, so unlucky. So yeah, I don't know. Arbalest is probably the strongest exotic in the game, like special for damage. It's just better than any sniper, even if the snipers use font for some reason, and it has more total damage. So no reason to just not have Arbalest equipped. It's also super strong against shields, super strong against barrier champions. It just does everything. So grab Arbalest. For Red Clear, Forbearance is a good grenade launcher from Vow of the Disciple. You can even play double special. Despite the fact that Bungie said they fixed the getting more EVs when you run double special, that's not true. So you get a crazy amount of EV bricks if you run double special for some reason.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot. I use Glaive and Arbalest all the time, and like just put on Finders, and it's still pushing out those purple bricks for me. Yeah.
Then I don't know. I mean, there are many good scout rifles right now with like Demolitionist, or like, honestly, Demolitionist is a good perk right now. Getting your grenade back faster in a meta where grenades are so strong, it's super valuable. There are some good SMGs. I often use my SMG from like duality with like Demo and Golden Tricorn. So, I mean, there isn't really a primary weapon that's necessary to have, let's be real. Like, you just want to have Arbalest, you want to have a good linear. If it's not raids, it's fine. Get a Cataclysmic, 4 times the charm. I don't know if I want to suggest bait and switch. I'm not a fan of it, at least for a day one. When you don't know how long the damage phase is, you may find yourself reprocking bait and switch when there are 2 seconds left and you wasted your time. Focus Fury isn't the best perk, it's just more consistent for a day one. So yeah, that's a good... Honestly, we have Taipan in the game now. There is not even a reason to like... If you don't have Breeze, you can just use Taipan. You're not going to have Font, most likely, because you're not going to have a Void Well. But triple tap firing line, it will do its job. Anything else? I mean, have Widowed. Widowed doesn't work with more people, but you want one Widowed in your team sometimes. Not in every encounter, but like sometimes it's nice.
Yeah, just to do that tick damage.
Yeah. It's very good. Even if someone is using bait and switch, which makes sense for whoever is on Well of Radiance, because they can also get like a Solar Well, maybe, for fun. So yeah, Widowed is good for that. It's also risky though, like you may miss the Widowed shot and not proc bait and switch, so it depends on the boss, obviously. Then like subclass-wise, if nothing changes with Strand, I would suggest any day one team to have 3 people stuck on Well of Radiance. We only have 2. But that's because we prioritize playing our mains. Like, we did have 3 for Vow and Vogue. We had 2 for King's Fall because we just... we had a new member, so it was Hunter main. And it's better to play your main as long as you have at least 2 Warlocks, let's say. Also, we knew how King's Fall was going to work. So you can kind of work with, like, less. But in a new scenario, having more Panic Wells can only help, let's say. Yeah, we knew even on King's Fall, like, Nighthawk for Hunter was going to be good because bosses are far away, and that's just a chunk of damage, in case we weren't going to use Font for any reason. Other subclasses, I mean, Titan right now, it's, ad clear-wise, it's overpowering any subclass you use. You can use Embers with Synthos, you can use Earth of Inmost on Void and Dark, super strong. You can even use Stasis with Earth of Inmost, or even there's another chest piece that makes your barricade be a crystal, that's also good. You can kind of use whatever on Titan. Hunter, I still feel like it's the weakest class. By a couple years, but it's still now with Tether lasting 12 seconds instead of 8 and a nerf to div. There is definitely more of a reason to use a debuff Hunter. The new 1-2 punch Hunter arc build is super strong. You're permanently invisible and you can't die. Not really practical in a day one, but still something to like keep in mind.
I've been playing around with that more lately, and I'm like, oh, this is surprising. This is fun. Just
there should probably be a cooldown on Assassin's Scout. I don't think it should be able to proc it every like 2 seconds. I don't know. Then Solar Hunter is also strong. I don't know why they nerfed Blade Barrage. Like, I don't know who is gonna use Blade Barrage in a serious scenario. Like, it's so inconsistent. I have no idea, honestly. But yeah,
there was that video that came out like early. Was it this season or last season where they shot Blade Barrage away from Ribbon's mouth, and it just sucked back into to the orb.
The eyes.
Yeah. Like, insanity. I think that's primary. But.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's okay. It's the highest damage super in the game, but who is gonna actually use it? Like, unless it's a massive boss. Now, I don't know. Maybe in Lightfall there is a massive boss like Raven, so they didn't want that to be so powerful. I don't know. But like on paper, it's like, who's gonna use that on the Rulk or like War Priest? You're just gonna miss half your super, and then it's worse than a Nighthawk, you know. So I don't know why they nerfed that, but Nighthawk is still very strong. Starter Scales is still very strong, like either Arc or the triple shot Goldie. So yeah, that's super valuable for sure. So far. Then we just don't know the meta will change. Obviously. And then you have Stasis Hunter, which is the strongest class if you want to use Font for damage. If your damage has to be Font, use the Stasis Hunter because you can reload the weapon with your Shuriken. And you actually have a good super. Like, you're not going to use Warlock or Titan super and roam around for 2 hours, so it's better to just toss your Science and Squall. It will at least do something, you know, like while you damage.
That's awesome. What would you say your favorite bosses have been in your world first runs?
You mean in those that I won, or just in raids in general?
Well, in raids in general, like what do you prefer in your bosses? In your
My top 3 bosses are easily Axis from Brat. Brat is my favorite raid. Galran from Crown and Valkaur from Spire for sure. Okay. Those are my 3 favorite raids anyways. I don't know exactly the order, but I would say Brat is the best. Those bosses were also good.
They're very mechanic heavy.
Not this Galran, not. I mean, a bit.
Yeah. Because you had the light switch, and then you had to take care of the hand. Like, there were a lot of moving parts to it.
It's like they were good for different reasons. Spire was good because at least on year 1, on year 2, after like Well came out, Spire became a joke. Let's be real, because you would just place Well and just bake the boss with coil in 2 seconds. In year 1, where you had to like pay attention to the missiles, like Aid. Anyway, surviving on the 4 plates to bring up the elevator was very hard, even if you had the Kneeling Rift. It was like very challenging. Spire was just a good experience as a team of 6.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the few raids that was actually like your team had to think, and like it required coordination to like a greater extent, and that's also due to the fact that you could not do the raid with less than 5 people, which for some people it's a bad thing because you can't do challenges, but it made the raid better as a full fair team experience. So, I appreciated that, let's say. I appreciate actually a raid that's good for what it's meant to be, more than like something that's broken and like, you can do it solo.
Yeah.
Let's say. Like, when WoW came out, there was no encounter that I was like, the second day I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this. I just knew how to do all of them with 3 people. Exhibition maybe was a bit tricky, but like, everything was just straightforward to do with 3 people, and I don't think that's very healthy for something that's meant to be done with 6.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the design philosophy might be so for some of those encounters post day 1 so that people can find comfort, like a comfortable job in there?
I mean, maybe, but then at that point, I feel like we should have difficulty options like we had in Destiny 1 with more mechanics in hard mode. I know they say they don't want to do that anymore, but if they want normal mod to be very welcoming, that's fine by me, but then give players that want something more something else. Anyways, regarding Crown, as I said, could be done by 2 people, but Crown, at least when it came out, it was good because unless you were like a god back then, you still needed 6 people. Not 6, but you still needed more people because you actually were going to get overwhelmed otherwise. Crystals, like deceptions, many ads. So it's like, that was probably the only raid we ever had where even if the mechanics were for 2 players, it was still pushing you to like, it was still challenging, let's say. And you still had all this plenty to do because, there were just so many ads and so many things to pay attention to that, it was good. But Crown and Brat were so fun because you, being good at the raid, were able to put so much, like, were able to help your team just so much. Like, one good player on Crown and Brat was able to, like, do almost everything. Like, in Destiny 1, you could use toilet guys on left and right and do, like, half the encounter by yourself, And that's super fun when, like, you can contribute to that extent. It needs to be hard, though, obviously.
So moving into like a more of a seasonal tone. So this past season, how have you felt about this past season so far?
I mean, not very well.
Okay.
I'm just not a fan of seasonal content as a whole. Like, I know many people have the idea that like content creators prefer this model because there is always something to do in the game. I don't. Like, I would rather play another game for 2 months but get quality content like 2 or 3 times a year, personally. That's just how I see it. Like I prefer the model we had, for example, in Destiny 1 Year 1, where there were like 3 DLCs, and I would say they were like better than seasons. Like even Year 1 and Year 2 of Destiny 2, like we had 3 raids a year. That was sick. So I would obviously personally trade that. I know that's I know content droughts aren't good for like live service games. I'm just saying for my personal enjoyment, I would rather that. I would rather good content less often that seasons four times a year, because I don't think they have the manpower right now to just provide the quality that we deserve, let's say. Like some of those activities are just not up to standards. Like, I don't know, expeditions are just, I don't know, you just sit on the payload for like 5 minutes and, you know, like it's...
Expedition was... I think I've talked about this on here before, where it's like with Expedition, I feel like Catch Crash, they're trying to capture like a menagerie style approach to content, and Catch Crash fulfills part of that, like overall run in, go into a randomized room, kill stuff, and then you have a final boss at the end, and then you get loot.
I actually think Catch Crash is pretty good. Like overall,
I think the challenge for Master, I feel like it's a fun encounter. It's fun to do on Master, and I enjoy the different encounters that you go in there for. Expedition Expedition felt like it was an extra thing that was kind of like they wanted to design something for Vanguard Ops in next year after Lightfall. So they're like, okay, we'll add this into Vanguard Ops playlist.
I hope they don't.
It feels designed for that, right? Like,
I mean, I don't know, they're just so much more boring than any other strike to me. Like, they're just time gated. Like, in an activity, something I look at the most when judging it is it time gated? Like, can I speed it up by being good? If the answer is no, then I'm just not engaged, because, like, unironic in an expedition for half of it, I may as well be AFK. Like, the same thing will happen. You know, like, it's... Or anyways, one of the 3 players can play, and it will progress at the same speed. Okay. I agree, Catch Crash is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, all encounters are actually kind of speedable up in Catch Crash, and with a coordinated team, and there is one of the bosses, the one you have to wait waves, that's kind of boring, but that's just one of them.
Yeah.
I feel like no activity just manages to be as good as Menagerie, in my opinion, for a simple reason, and that's because Artifact exists. Like, I think Menagerie had such a good hard mode. It was called Prestige mode or whatever. There was even a triumph to do it with 3 people, which was sick. I remember it took me a couple of days because it wasn't easy. And like, I like when a seasonal activity brings you like the next difficulty of things, and it's like challenging, and there are things to do in it. It's kind of cool. I don't know. Like, Artifact existing now makes it so... That goes for any master activity, even raids. I just don't feel good about doing any challenge on it or clearing them, because I know that that's not what the difficulty level should be. Like, there can be some random guy that AFKs the moon for 2 weeks, and then he's playing it on easy mod. And just that thought doesn't make me appreciate the difficulty option as much. Like, I would like the difficulty options to be set, to have contest mod in like hard mods. The fact that I can just, this is too hard, I'll just go do some bounties, that just makes the experience worse for me, personally. So that's what those activities are failing to do compared to Menagerie. Menagerie had the set difficulty, like -15 or whatever.
What do you feel like the fix is for artifact power then? Do you just remove power from the artifact entirely and just use it for the track? I think Artifact was an awesome idea to allow people to still play content without having to engage with pinnacles. Like, I don't mind it being a catch-up mechanic until you are at pinnacle level. I don't think it should be an infinite level afterwards. Like, it's just, I don't know. You can either put a cap to it, because if they're worried that removing Artifact will drop playtime from casual players, why don't you just drop Artifact level to +20? Who reaches that, unironically? If someone doesn't play much, he will not reach +20. You can cap it at +20 and you've solved the problem, like, unironically. Obviously, I would rather it to go, but I know some things aren't realistic for, like, player engagement, stats. So, either put a cap to it or don't require it for endgame activities. Like, GMs don't require it. GMs have contests. And that's the reason why you see so many people doing solo GMs. And they feel accomplishment when they clear it. Now, imagine if GMs weren't capped and you could just overlevel them. Like, who would care about a solo light blade if you can play it like a patrol zone? Yeah.
So it's like, GMs, I don't like GMs as an activity, Like I prefer raids than strikes, but GMs have the best leveling system by far. Now, I would rather them be accessible to everyone. I don't like that you have to be plus 15 to access them.
Yeah.
So I would prefer if anyone could access them. Yeah. Again, those are just things they do for like engagement and like force people to like play. And I don't agree with it, but
well, at a certain point with GMs, it does feel like that there is a commitment to like you must be this tall to get on the ride, you know, like to at least meet that if you're interested in going into it.
Yeah, but getting plus 15 on the artifact doesn't show anything aside of the fact that you did bounties. So it's just the wrong stat that they're looking at. Like, also, you shouldn't have to be doing it every season. Like, you can even have a very hardcore player that just doesn't wanna play the game for that season. I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be able to access GMs.
Okay.
Maybe make it so once you have accessed them once, you don't need the artifact level anymore. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I like the fact that there is a cap to them, and that's the difficulty you're supposed to be playing them at. And I would like to see that in Master Raids. That's also why you basically never catch me doing any challenge in a Master Raid, because why would they go struggle to do a duo Master Oryx when I see some random videos on YouTube of people that are 30 power levels higher than me doing it?
Yeah.
Fun fact, if you are plus 40 on the artifact, I think, Master Raids, it's actually, like, you have to do less damage than in normal. You actually do more. Like, it's easier to do it. So it's like, it's just weird, you know? Like, so yeah. That's something that every new seasonal activity is failing to do for me. Provide a set difficulty option so that I can do, okay, I did it solo, I did something cool. So let's say.
Yeah.
For example. But then, since the topic was seasons, one of the reasons I think most people found seasons this year more dry than last year is that last year we got like 4 strikes, I think. We got Proving Grounds, which I think is one of the best strikes in the game. It's pretty long, but it's very good. Like, it's high quality for the whole duration of it, I think. Outside of getting hit by rocks and dying in that section, anyways.
Yeah. That's kind of dumb.
Yeah. It's just a good strike. The boss room actually has a mechanic in Proving Grounds. Like, technically, if you're not going to shoot the orbs, you should rotate under the bridge. It's just very cool.
Yeah.
Now you can cheese it with a glaive, but that's another So yeah, we got like 3 strikes from like the Cosmodrome, which again were from Destiny 1, but they were still content. Like, they made the GM rotation pretty fresh.
Yeah.
So the core playlist definitely got more love last year.
Yeah.
And I would also argue the PvP sandbox is in a better state. Well, this year, the seasonal content is like kind of similar, but we're getting less strikes. When you think about it, we got Lightblade and Birthplace of the Vile only.
We've also received like a commitment for like, if there's not a raid, then there's a dungeon.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know if that's enough. Like,
yeah.
In the long run, a couple strikes are more replayable than a dungeon.
Okay.
Because when a dungeon like isn't relevant anymore, that's it. While the GM rotation is something that's more replayable, either with different modifiers, different seasonal mods. It's a bit different. I mean, dungeons are still better content than strikes, in my opinion. But when they fall out of relevancy, then they have less replayability, maybe.
Yeah. Like, I don't find myself rushing out to play Shattered Throne very often.
Yeah.
Like when it's on the rotator, it's not really tempting for me to go and get anything from.
Like, if they added a contest mod, like an higher difficulty option to all of those with like cosmetics, I would replay them. It's like I played them so much, and they're like, honestly, like Shattered Throne right now is so easy. Like, every boss dies in like 2 grenades. They just have no health for today's standard. I don't know why they don't try to like add the difficulty options to them with like some cosmetics. Like, we don't need much really, just some incentive to replay them.
How do you feel about the plans for PvP going forward? Like, they've spoken about next season they're adding like a tier lists for the PvP, and with that in the future adding some cosmetics. Do you feel like that's enough of a carrot to go after?
First of all, regarding comp specifically, there is a line that worries in the TWAB that talks about some skill-based matchmaking. Now, I don't know how that's gonna work. if it's, I said it on Twitter, but if it's a sort of hidden MMR, which other games have, that's fine. So to say, like, there is a rank decay, right? If you don't play for 2 weeks, you lose a rank. So other games make it so when you come back, you don't play at the rank you ended up to, but you still play at the rank you were at, and you simply gain more points than what you lose to go back at that rank faster. So there is one hidden rating that like matches you, and then there is your rating that can decay. So games that have decay have an hidden skill rating. So I can understand that. If that's the case, I'm okay with it. If it's a pure skill-based matchmaking that just watches your stat across the board, I don't like that, because I don't want people to be able to throw quick-played games and then just have easy games in comp. That doesn't make any sense. So we will have to see how that's implemented. I suppose it's going to be, as I said, a sort of an hidden MMR, like other games do. But it's definitely worrying. They could have like clarified, maybe, I don't know. While regarding if there will be incentive to play comp, I mean, first of all, I'm not sure why. We aren't sure that there are going to be no cosmetics. The TWAB wasn't really clear on that either. They said no, like, aspirational weapons like Mod 9 Top, which is understandable. They don't want that situation to happen again. But we aren't sure if there are going to be no cosmetics. If that's the case, though, that's kind of weird, because you announced the comp rework 9 months before. Why don't you make at least like one emblem? Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like literally one emblem for max rank. So we will have to see. If it's true that there are no cosmetics, I don't really understand why. Yeah. Because I don't know.
I feel like they said after the fact, that they're, and like on Twitter, I'd have to find the tweet, and probably we'll have to link it in the sources for this when I find it. But I think it was Dylan said something that it might not be next season, but it is something that they're looking into in seasons like post.
No, I get it. I just don't think it's a good move. Like to launch the comp playlist without literally anything, like a shader, you know, like because it can't be that like big of a commitment to make one emblem in 9 months. Like I'm sure they could have done it. So if they didn't do it, it's just a decision, isn't like anything else, right? So I don't get the decision. If they were worried that not many people would unlock it, then I don't think that's a worry. We already have day one emblems. We already have emblems that like most of the community want to get. This isn't a game where you're supposed to collect every cosmetic, right?
Yeah. So, there are people who try.
Yeah, there are people. I mean, still though, like,
yeah,
there are cosmetics for like fundraisers on charity, for example. Like, not everyone is gonna have that, obviously. So
yeah, there
is no problem if you make an emblem, and not many get it personally.
Yeah, because it becomes that to me is a goal. Like if you're chasing that thing and you want it, then you generally will go through what it takes to go get it.
Yeah.
If it matters.
Like I definitely don't want to gatekeep gear, but the gatekeeping cosmetics, I think that's healthy for the game. Like having something that all the best we get, as long as it's a cosmetic, it can't hurt. It's just something to aspire to.
And it's like shiny and flaming. Like it shows that you've gone through a thing.
Last thing though, outside of cosmetics, since you're asking if like comp will be like an 8 or not, so if people will play it, I'm worried that in the current sandbox, me personally, I wouldn't go around being proud of being max rank in comp due to the sandbox. Because that probably means I have to play Invis Hunter with a sidearm or some obscure loadout. It's like, I just don't enjoy the current set of PvP. So I also wouldn't enjoy getting max rank and grinding, because it almost doesn't feel up to my skill. It just feels up to what I'm willing to use to like, win. So adding a ranked playlist will not fix the PvP sandbox with the new accuracy systems, light nerfs, all those kind of things that many players, especially those that the comp is gathered to, don't like. That said though, I'm still happy they're adding comp, because they can still, let's say, fix the sandbox in the future. If they fix the sandbox and there is no comp, we are again in the situation where people say, oh, there is nothing to do, there is no comp. So I'm okay with them adding comp now.
Yeah, as a foundation.
Even if PvP isn't in a good state, then they can fix PvP, maybe. I don't know. Like, it's like better to add it than to not add it. That's how I see it.
Heck yeah. I have a series of questions here from some folks online. If you had to make a season, what would it be?
I mean, would they be allowed to not make the story progress and to not make a 6-man activity? Like,
I mean, you know what?
because
You have been given specific duties. You are the director for the next season, for not next season, but probably like 3 seasons from now. If there's a gap that you would want to fill, what would it be?
I would start with a quality of life season. So do many sandbox changes, PvE and PvP, buffs, nerfs. Even if people think I want to nerf everything, it's mainly buffs, probably like 6 or 7 nerfs, PvE wise. Anyways, I would add, as I said, many difficulty options, like old activities. Honestly, like I just wouldn't add anything new. Like I will just work with what we have. We have a lot of activities that could be good, could be replayable. They just need some love. So I would just work on that. It will be mainly like a quality of life season if I could.
It would be called the
Just fix
season of
bugs.
love.
Yeah. Maybe we can finally fix the duality bell bug since it's still there.
Oh man, that's a rough one, bud.
It happens less often, but that's not a fix. Like, it's just so sad for people trying solo flawless and they just die.
Yeah.
I also, like, that thing didn't happen up until halfway through the season. So something they did in the halfway through the season update broke it. I don't understand why they can't pinpoint it. I don't know. It must be something weird.
Like we've made jokes about spaghetti code in the past of just like, it's got to be like somewhere deep down in the spaghetti where you just like, you just have to like, you have to root it out. It's like, it's knotted up in there and you just got to pull it apart.
Oh yeah, I will definitely work on all the activities, add difficulty options if I could, with a cap like GMs. So yeah, as I said, and then I mean, if I could, I will also bring back, I guess, things from the content vault like all the raids.
Yeah,
but that's probably something that doesn't happen in a season, I guess. I don't know. While if I had to make new activities, I would make a couple strikes. I don't know. I just think Proving Grounds releasing in that season just left such a good impression. It fits so well with the story. So, like, I really feel like overall, if instead of like an activity every season, like instead of 7 missions or like expeditions, we got like a strike every season, it would be so much better in the long run because those are like there to stay. Those are like quality activities. Then I'm sure they take a different amount of dev time, so you probably can do that every season. Still though, even getting like 1 or 2 more a year could go a long way. I don't know.
Okay.
Then yeah, I mean, realistically, you would have to progress the story if you make a season. Maybe not in the one where you make quality of life changes.
Yeah.
But then when you actually do progress the story, you do have to progress the story. But I feel like they're pretty good at doing that. Like that's not something I really want to criticize. Like I don't like how 7 missions are time gated by dialogues. Like I would like story to be narrated more in form of like cutscenes, but at least allow you to skip dialogues because replaying a 7 mission with 5 minutes of cutscenes every time gets annoying. Like but aside from that, I don't think they're doing like a poor job with the story overall. Like I really enjoyed the season of the shows, and I enjoyed Splicer. I enjoyed the. I mean, a couple of them were good overall.
Yeah. What has been your favorite season? What has been your favorite season in the game?
For what?
In the game, like for you.
I mean, yeah. If it counts, like the season of the Forge, I guess Black Armory.
I think it counts.
I mean, we had the raid, so of course that wins. We had the raid, and like the weapons were so good. I mean, maybe Opulence though. Either Opulence or like Forge. Anyways, those two. They bought the raid, so they have an advantage.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Menagerie was so good. Black Armory was like the Forge weapons were so good. We got Izanagi. Niobe Labs was so cool. I think. I don't know. So yeah.
Oh, I remember meeting Sweaty that season.
But those really are in season. Those were more like the old OG DLCs. Like, I would compare more the Menagerie season to what Crota's End was in Destiny 1 than a season we have now. It was just, I don't know.
It was something that came along.
Meant to stay, let's say. Like it was made in a different way.
Oh man, imagine if they brought it back now. It would be on that trashed out Leviathan.
That would be the old raids?
That would be kind of Well, if they brought back Menagerie on the Leviathan that we have now. That would be kind of sick.
I mean, yeah, as long as they keep it like similar, I guess. Yeah, I don't really mind if there are some scorn architectures, I guess.
Yeah.
Menagerie had its flaws anyways. It's not perfect. Like
right.
I even remember like there was the encounter on the Gauntlet that was only good because there was a cheese. You would like shoot Prospector and like autocomplete it. Otherwise, that encounter was so boring. Like through the spin 3 times. Menagerie had its flaws, but it was just good. It had like a good foundation. Artifact wasn't in the game. A good prestige mod. A good loot table. Whether the glitch was there or not for like 6 times the loot, it was still so good to focus. Like even when the glitch was fixed, I think that system was like a good one, I would say. Like focus weapons.
So Hobo Scruff, friend of the show, asks, my main serious question, and that may be a little rough, is how do you keep giving takes that some people find controversial without letting them get to you?
I mean, not giving controversial takes will just be not speaking about the game.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone is gonna find it controversial. Then I don't know. I don't want to say I don't care, because if I had to say something and I had to actually like if something I say offends someone, I will feel bad about it. Like if people were mad at me for something I did and that was something not a bad thing, then I will feel bad about it. But I'm not gonna feel bad for saying, oh, this gun is a bit too strong.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't have remorse for just talking about the sandbox and like the game, because
this group of pixels needs looked at.
Yeah, like people just bring things too far, but I'm just talking about the game. So even if people send me very bad DMs for it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm still gonna do my thing, give the feedback in a respectful way, and see what happens. Like many people also follow me for that, like to see my takes on like things, and
I feel like when I see you pop up in my Twitter feed, there isn't I don't have like a yeesh kind of feeling about it, you know? Like I don't view you as being negative. I view you as somebody who's looking at the game from your own perspective, and that is like this could use some work, and you're allowing people to make decisions one way or another, right? As to how they feel about it. But you're not saying I'm right and you're wrong, or I'm right and you're evil for disagreeing with me, which I feel like is what a lot of the people who leave comments on any social media platform is doing anyway. So like, how do you cope with that? Because you're like on a larger stage when it comes to that. How do you deal with that?
Like people leaving comments, you mean?
Oh yeah, or like, you know, do you just look at it once and go, and then move on, or
like, so unless they are extremely offensive, like TOS things, I try to like answer to them and not block them. Because out of like 10 people that tell me, okay, you're an idiot, you're trying to ruin the game, like there is maybe one out of those 10 that after I speak with him is like, oh, I'm sorry, like I see your point of view, and maybe like, you know, it becomes a follower, maybe he's in good terms after. So I still like to give people the benefit of the doubt if I can. That's something I just always do, like in life, not necessarily on social. It's like I like to answer to most people if I can. And to explain them my point of view better, because they may have prejudice. So but then if they don't wanna delegate, or if they keep like insulting me like after 5 posts in a row, I'm probably just gonna block them and move on. Like you know, that's
fair. Like
you can't. Yeah, I mean, I even do too much. Like many of my friends tell me just stop. Like, you know, dealing with it. Just close your notifications. I'm like, no, I like to talk with people.
Well, that's part of the job some have, too, like, right?
Yeah,
like,
it creates engagement, obviously. Like, I mean, also some people have very good ideas. Like there are benefits to it. It takes a lot of work, but there are benefits to it.
Heck yeah. I guess so. My final question of the night is going to come from my friend Mr. Keelan. He asks, "What is your favorite Destiny moment?" He knows it'll probably be a raid win, but he's just curious.
I mean, I think the Vault of Glass win was probably one of the best feeling moments for multiple reasons. Yeah, because it was the first one. We almost didn't believe it. And it also felt super deserved, let's say. Like, we won normal mode and we won challenge mode, and we didn't get any input from like any other stream. We literally were leading the whole time, let's say. So that it also felt awesome because we won that one on all fronts, and it was the first win, so it felt unreal. So that's probably, I guess, the best moment.
Yeah. To follow up with that though, like so when you win Vow and when you win Kingsfall, is it kind of like chasing that feeling a little bit? Or
it's different because for Vow we were just so mad. Like we were so disappointed of disconnecting for 2 hours, getting soft locked 3 times, that it was more about it was more the disappointment of one of the coolest day in the year of Destiny being ruined by that than like
it was a revenge tale.
Feeling good about the win. Well, for Kingsfall I just had so much pressure. So winning Kingsfall felt more a relief than like it felt good, because we knew no team had won 3 times in a row, and we wanted to do that, obviously, because that's an occasion that doesn't happen again. So I just had so much pressure during Kingsfall that it felt like a relief. I mean, it felt good, but maybe that much pressure didn't make me enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first one. I don't know.
Do you feel?
Anyways, the first win is just the first win. Like it feels good, you know.
Do you feel any of that pressure going into the fourth one? Going into your fourth? I actually
don't as much.
Yeah.
Because the goal was to do this crazy thing and win 3 in a row. Now.
Yeah. So you've already climbed the mountain. You've already climbed the mountain. Any higher than that, you're just flying.
No, anything else is an extra. Like I don't see a team beating this record anytime soon. Like it's not easy to win 3 in a row, obviously. So I know we did like a cool thing. And if we lose the next one, well, too bad. Let's run it back in the next one. Like now the goal may be to like get 4 belts, because no one has 4 belts, while Redeem has 3 belts like us, right? So, but to do that, we don't need to win them in a row. So I'm gonna feel less pressure, personally. I don't know. And which is a good thing, because I'm still gonna try my best, but I'm just not gonna.
It doesn't
pressure. I don't think pressure is good in those scenarios.
You've kind of solidified
your best.
You've kind of solidified your legacy at this point. Yeah. At least in the game, at least in the Hall of Fame of the game. You and Elysium are the first to win 3 in a row. That's a good feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. My name's Danfinity. You can find me on the Twitter and the Instagram and the TikTok at DanfinityGG. You can find me on Twitch 3 days a week, twitch.tv/Danfinity, helping Guardians with in-game activities. If you'd like to support the show, remember to rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. Anything you say helps us in the algorithm. And if you'd like to give a couple bucks a month to help keep the lights on, head on over to coffee.com/Danfinity. That is ko-fi.com/Danfinity. All the links are in the notes for the show. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week, and I hope you find what you're grinding for.